Welcome to the Imagine More podcast with your hosts, Abel and Nate, the podcast that discusses everything real estate and everyday life. Be sure to follow us on TikTok at EpicInvesting2 and Instagram at Imagine_Able_Nate. Now let's get on with our show. Welcome everyone to our 6th episode of the Imagine More podcast. Again, I'm Abel and I'm here with my co-host Nate Perneda.
This is Nate. Hey guys, I just want to give a quick shout out to our listeners, our followers. You guys have been amazing. The support we're getting from you guys is absolutely phenomenal. Thank you guys.
Yeah, so today we have with us is someone who has been getting quite the following on social media and also in the community here in Moses Lake, Mr. Vicente El Muchacho Martinez.
El Muchacho.
What's
Hi
going
guys,
on,
how
Nate?
you guys doing today, man?
Good, bro. Welcome.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Welcome. If you want to just kind of give an introduction.
Well, my name is Vicente El Muchacho Martinez. I'm originally from Houston, Texas, Channelview, Texas to be exact. And I moved out here in Moses Lake back in 2009, I want to say. 2009? Yeah. I came out here from the military. I got out of the military, came out here, and I met Esmer, and we hit it off. And then, I've just been here since and trying to figure it out. I kind of... Some really cool things about me, man, and some interesting things about me is that I learned a lot growing, with my time here in Moses Lake.
Yeah.
And it definitely matured me a certain way.
Yeah.
And I'm really proud of it.
But you grew up in Houston.
Yeah.
You graduated from Houston?
Yeah.
Okay. So after that, you went to the military.
So, question with the military, what branch?
I was in the Army.
Army? Okay. I'm sorry.
I'm a
Navy guy, so you know how that goes.
And I'm just a nobody.
I
couldn't get into the military, but I've actually known Vicente for a while. We met each other in Mexico, man, years ago.
Yeah.
All our families, we're all from kind of the same area in Mexico, and we used to go to those late night dances, bro, and that's kind of where we first.
Amazing times, man.
Those are great
amazing times, man. The greatest moments of my life were hanging out in República Oriente, Nuevo León.
Amen.
Oh my goodness, man.
Amen.
What a small world, though. From Houston, from Washington, know each other from Mexico. Now you're back both up here.
Yeah.
Years
awesome.
later, it's just crazy how that works out.
Yeah, and then this guy was he was a good football player too over in Channelview. Channelview has some pretty good football players. One was just in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Mr. Jalen Hurts.
So, that's right.
So let's kind of just get on though. What gave you the motivation? Because you do sell cars at Bud Clary.
Yes,
correct?
I do.
And what gave you the motivation to get into that car selling business?
Well, a little bit about me is going into that was my time here in Moses Lake. I learned a lot here. I learned that the people you hang around with, really do give you an outcome. You're a product of your environment. It's something big that I tell everybody. It's if you start hanging with certain people, man, things are gonna happen, and you're gonna start doing what they do.
Yeah,
exactly.
Amen.
What tripped me out a lot, man, is that I hid a lot of that. I hid a lot of my past. I went through it. I went through it, and the crazy part is that I recovered here. Exactly here, and I did it on my own. It was the hardest thing I ever got through, but it taught me a big lesson. And the big lesson that I tell everybody is it'll cost you everything in life doing bad things. It'll cost you $0 doing good.
Yeah. And
it's something that I hold deep to my heart. And anytime anybody's ever going through something, I let them know, look, man, you can do it. You can do it. You just got to try really, really, really hard.
Yes.
So the time that I was getting my mind right is what I like to say is the time that I was getting my mind right, I put a lot of pressure on my wife Esmer, with her being the only one working and basically taking care of the whole family, and when I got my mind right, I just told myself, man, what am I going to do? What am I going to figure out to be able to make money, good money, honest money, without having to take a long time to kind of figure something out.
Yeah, at one point you even came into the office and we talked a little bit about you getting into real estate.
Yeah.
And I remember it was shortly after that you got into the car business, and I was like, real estate's not for everybody, but seeing what you're seeing in the car business, I'm like, he found his niche. That's where he's supposed to be.
Yeah.
That's and it's awesome just watching you progress throughout, from when you did come into the office and we talked to where you're at now in the car business. It's mind-blowing, bro.
Thank you.
And I think it's really important to know, obviously we treat our customers and clients in real estate, with professionality and all that professionalism. And, also with Vince, every time I go in to get my oil change and stuff, he always makes it a point. Like if he sees me, hey, Abel's here. Let me go to spark a conversation with him, because you know what? I'll tell you right now, I'm probably gonna buy my next car out for Vince when it comes to that time, right? I mean, so it just goes a long way. Treat your customers, the way you want to be treated, right? Treat them right, and you'll get that business.
Right.
And car business, it's not easy.
Oh no, it's not.
It's not easy.
Any type of sales is hard.
Yeah.
You have to have a certain type of personality for it. A big thing when I was searching for a job, I was looking everywhere. I went to a couple of places here in town, and they looked at me, literally looked at me up and down, and said, "No, we don't want you. Get out."
Yep.
And it was Brandon Love that works for here at Bud Clary Ford and Honda. He's the GSM. He gave me a chance. The other gentleman that kind of put me under his wing was Aaron Hubbard. They call him the bow tie guy.
Yeah.
Amazing guys, man. Amazing guys. They looked at me and they said, "You know what, man? We see that you're wearing jeans and a jean jacket and a hat. We see something about you. We want to give you a chance." And at first, I had to go, and you have to get dressed up a certain way. You have to have slacks and shoes and a nice shirt.
Completely out of your element.
Completely out of my element at that time. But I realized, you know what? It's not costing me anything getting the job. It's free. You go out and you give an effort, man. Somebody out there is going to see you and give you a shot somehow.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I took it all in. I went and got a bunch of clothes at Goodwill, man, and I made it work, up until I started getting paid. And there was a process I had to learn on how to sell a vehicle, on how to approach people and how to become friendly and stuff like that, because with what I was going through, I was still hard-headed in a lot of ways, because I was so used to being a certain way for a long time. And when I broke that, my mind just went crazy. Like I took everything that they were teaching me, man, and I studied it like it was the Bible.
Yep.
And that was another thing too. My spirituality needed to be in check too.
Yeah.
So I started going to church a lot. I see you guys right here at Restore City.
Yep.
Amazing place, man. When I realized that I need to go to church, it wasn't for me to look at everybody and think, what are people thinking of me or anything like that. No, It was for me to focus on myself.
Yeah.
For me to go and hear a word to be able to, become a stronger person, mentally.
Yeah.
And it all just started falling into place. Well, I started realizing in the car business, because of COVID, nobody was going onto these lots.
Mm-hmm.
The lots were just bare, not very many new cars, and all the used cars, people were having a hard time selling them and stuff. Well, I had to figure out, what can I do to bring people in? There's a gentleman that works at the Ford side. He's been there for about 10 years. I learned a lot from that guy, because he was the one, if you say his name, he gets a half a deal.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to learn, how are people going to come in and say my name?
Yep.
Yeah.
So I thought, you know what, I'll figure it out somehow. And I sat there for about a month, man, still learning, still training and stuff. And they were giving me my chances, like, hey, man, this is what you got to do, figure it out. So I was figuring it out. And I realized, like, man, everybody's always on their phones, man.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's always looking at
Always.
Facebook. Everybody's always on that TikTok stuff. And at that time, I had no knowledge of how to work that stuff.
Yeah.
So I told my wife, I was like, man, I'm going to pick up the phone and I'm going to start recording myself somehow.
Yep.
And for a minute there, they were just like, let's go. Let's just do it.
So with this, this is the actual birth of your alter ego.
Yeah.
Yes. This is the birth of El Muchacho.
El Muchacho.
Yes.
Now, I got the name from my grandma that passed away. And when we were in Mexico as little kids, when I'd be running around the house everywhere, she'd always, muchacho, ven, come over here. And I thought about it for a long time. I was like, man, what am I going to call myself? How am I going to look? What am I going to figure out? And I was really depressed, man, because when you're not selling, man, you're not making money, obviously. Mm-hmm. And you really get in your own head because you start doubting yourself.
Yep.
And the hardest part about sales is the patience that you need to have. Amen. Because you got to realize that, don't get upset about yourself for not putting in the work and thinking that you're going to receive something, because you're not going to receive anything if you don't put the work in.
Amen.
Period.
Yep.
So I thought to myself, man, what can I come up with that's going to work? What am I going to come up with that's going to catch people's eyes on these videos and stuff? So I remember growing up and watching the show Martin all the time. And I remember this character called Jerome, which was this, this player. He's the player from the Himalayas, you always say, And he was awesome, man. And something about that and realizing that, man, I remember those old 70s car commercials, and then I started really thinking about it. I was like, man, in Houston, there's this guy named Mattress Mac, and he'd always record these commercials and jump in the air and say, I'll save you money. And I'm like, man, that's the retro thing that I need. This guy, Mattress Mac, he just won I think a lot of millions of dollars for betting on the Astros to win, right?
Oh yeah.
So I took that mentality that Mattress Mac had, that it doesn't cost you anything making these videos.
Nope.
When you have the platform that you have now, which is just having a phone in your hand, dude, it's endless, man. You can do whatever you want. Yep. I didn't realize how big of a market in sales I could have by posting vehicles on Facebook Marketplace and everything. Obviously, you have to join certain groups and things and ask for permission, and it took me a while. And at first, I got kicked off of Facebook Marketplace for posting too much, And I started realizing, I was like, man, how can I do this? So I started posting a car here and there, and then the idea of getting El Muchacho to come out in the videos. One thing I learned too is that if I'm gonna go in there looking like a player, then I gotta act the part. I gotta do this. I gotta maintain this alter ego, and I just gotta figure him out. And in the beginning, I started reading on. Do you guys ever see those the pimp movies of the Mac and stuff like that? Yeah. And I started kind of watching these movies, and I started realizing, man, these guys have a lot of game, man. When you really think about it, it's a big deal. And then I started listening to a lot of the UGK, which is the Underground Kings, and Pimp C is one of my favorite artists, man. He passed away. Rest in peace, Pimp C, man. I always give it to him, but he put me on game because he made me realize, in order to be a pimp, you got to be a pimp of the game. You got to understand what the game in front of you, of what it is.
Yeah.
And I realized really quick, man, I'm in the car sales game. I'm in the game of life. Like, how am I going to make this work? What do pimps do that work? And I started, hearing a podcast with this guy named Sharp. Well, Sharp, he said this quote, man, I'll never forget it. It's all by choice and not by force. So that right there gave me the mentality of, man, if I use my words right, if I talk to people a certain way and help them more than anything, man, I'm going to make it.
Yeah.
And you think this alter ego helps boost your confidence too?
Oh, big time.
In sales, we'll go through spurts where you're not selling any houses. And, your confidence kind of takes a dip. You don't know what's coming up next. You think having El Muchacho just helps keep you at that high to where you can get through those times and it doesn't even faze you anymore.
Oh, dude. El Muchacho has an ego, man.
Yeah.
I mean, Vince himself, growing up, always had this ego of, I'm the man. I wanted to be this guy that I didn't know what I was at the time. I was trying to figure it out, but I just realized, it's, if I keep going, if I keep climbing and showing people my confidence, then maybe I might spark something. Something might just click.
But,
I think it's almost like to me, like it was a hidden talent of yours that you just kind of always Because man, like I said, dude, I've known you since I was
Yeah.
15, right? And you've always had that personality. It's just outgoing and funny, and just you don't care, like whatever. I'm just gonna be myself. But when you moved over here to Washington, it's kind of like, and I noticed, like, man, Vince seems kind of like,
Yeah.
but when you started this car business, it's like, you know what? Like you said, like, I know I'm funny. I know I can do this. I know I have a great personality. I'm gonna put it out there, and
yeah.
you did, dude.
Yeah.
And honestly, bro, it's like I'm proud of you, man.
Thank you so
And,
much,
like
man.
it's crazy to see what you've done in that car business, and like you say in every video. And I'll hey, don't forget, ask for Vince.
Oh, that was
You
another
know?
thing too. I had to learn how to come up with a phrase, man, because of that car salesman that I work with. You everybody knows him. Everybody knows him. You say his name, he automatically gets a half deal. So I started thinking about it. I was like, well, what can I say or do or what? Hey, don't forget, ask for Vince.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's what I started posting with all the vehicles that I was posting on Marketplace. Believe it or not, Marketplace is a strong place, man.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You can make a lot of money. There was a month, man, that I know all my sales were from Marketplace.
Wow.
A lot of people hit me up now because of Marketplace. Social media is a strong platform when you're in sales, man, because you have to put yourself out there.
Yep.
You have to show the community. You have to show people around the world or across the nation that you're someone too. Like everybody looks at Moses Lake like, oh, it's a small town, this and that. Man, I'm gonna put people on, man. We're gonna figure this out. And we're all gonna grow.
Yeah.
There's when you have the mentality of not being stopped, man, and just keep pushing yourself and realize one thing more than anything, man, is that you're gonna have a whole lot more bad days than you will have good days. That's just a given thing. And if you can harness that, if you can control your emotions behind it, you control the whole game. Because if you let other people control your emotions, they control you.
Yeah.
And it doesn't make sense, man, because you know what? You have to put one foot in front of the other and take your time, but figure it out.
Yeah.
And I'm very thankful for the people that I have around me at work and the community, because you know what? It's funny to me because my bosses, they allowed me to do this and to grow something, and to build something. And now when I go to Walmart with my family, I'll have people like down the aisle go, "Hey, it's El Muchacho," going all crazy on me. I'm just, "Hey
that's
guys, what's
awesome.
up?" And it's amazing, man.
I mean, you just opened up on a comedy show, like what was it, this past Saturday. I mean, who would have thought, right?
Yeah, right, man.
So how did that all come to
Well,
fruition?
what happened was me and Esmer, we ended up going to a comedy show previously, and the beer was flowing, everybody was having a good time, and I look at her and I'm like, "Babe, El Muchacho needs to be up there one day." I was just like, it just has to happen, and apparently somebody heard me, man. So I get a phone call, and they're like, "Hey, we want to have you up there for 6 to 10 minutes. We want you to open up for these other comedians." And I'm like, "Oh man, that's a dream come true, Yes, I gotta do that."
Instant cloud
So
nine.
yeah, dude, instantly, man. I was like, okay. So I prepared literally almost a whole month with like 6 to 10 minutes of material, man, because I wanted to go up there and just blow the roof off the place. Obviously, I went as El Muchacho because I felt like that's what people wanted to see.
Yeah.
So I started as soon as I got there, I started seeing that they weren't really paying attention to me very much, and they were just kind of like, yeah, hey, if you suck, just get off, And I was like, all right, I get it, Why wouldn't they? Don't know me or anything. They don't owe me anything, and they're just asking me to go up there. And I did my first bit where I walked in and I started doing the gritos and everything, acting as Mexican as I could, man, because that's what El Muchacho is.
Oh, yeah.
He is a Mexican and he's very proud of it, man. And we're from the rancho, Somos the rancho, and we're gonna take it all the way, man.
Amen.
And I went up there, man. I threw my first couple jokes out there, and everybody was having a good time. And the next thing you know, I get into my last joke, and then I get cut off. So I was up there for a total of 4 minutes, and I was questioning myself a lot, because you question yourself a lot. Like, did I do something wrong? Did I go up there and cuss too much? What did I do wrong?
Yeah.
So I asked the comedian that cut me off. I was like, "Hey man, why'd you cut me off?" And he immediately, got upset, and he was like, "I didn't cut you off, blah blah blah." And I'm like, "Okay, man, you didn't have to flip out on me, but when he said it again, I didn't cut you off in a manner like I felt like he was trying to intimidate me. I realized really quick, like, okay, look, man, hey, you need to calm down. Like,
Yeah.
you really don't know who I am, and I'm not trying to be that old person again, you know, like, calm down, you know.
Yeah.
So I just walked away from it, man, and I realized that, you know what, every opportunity is an opportunity no matter what.
Yeah.
You know,
Exactly.
you have to take advantage of everything that somebody's trying to. If somebody tries to put you out there, you got to take advantage of it, man. You got to put yourself out there no matter what, whether it be a minute or 30 minutes, you know.
Yeah.
Just let people know your talent. Let people know what you can do, because you know what, the sky's the limit.
Absolutely.
Nothing can hold you back other than yourself.
So how important would you say, you know, social media is in your success? I mean, obviously you kind of went over it, but like, has that in your car sales business? I mean, you went from, let's just say you were selling maybe 1 to 2 cars a month. What would you say
That did happen, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I first started, I came out the gate on my first day. I sold 2 cars. I was high on life, you know, and that month I ended up doing 6.5 cars. The months after that is where I started to realize, like, okay, now that I'm trying to figure out this process in my own way and do my own thing, it's getting harder. So that's when I picked up the phone, like, okay, I need to start recording myself, and started getting into the whole social media thing. I didn't know nothing about TikTok. I didn't know anything about editing videos, nothing, man. This was all brand new to me. I'd ask my kids, like, hey, kids, help me out. And my kids were like, yeah, Dad, we'll help you out, and then just give up, you know. And I started figuring out, okay, I got to be consistency is another key thing when it comes to social media. You have to be consistent. Whether you post a video of you singing something, or if you post information, anything, you just have to stay consistent with it. I went from like literally less than 1,000 views a month to now I'm gonna be reaching 500,000 views on all my platforms, man, and it's growing and growing and growing.
That is awesome.
You know, and the amazing thing about it is that I didn't have to go to Seattle. I didn't have to go to Tri-Cities. I didn't have to go to Spokane. I stayed right here in Moses Lake, and the people around me, man, were the biggest support.
That's awesome.
You know, they wanted to see somebody come up. I'm coming up. I'm trying to make something out of myself, so that way I can put somebody else on.
Yeah.
You know, and I can show them that, you know what, just stay with it. Stay faithful to God. Stay, you know, have that mindset of you can always accomplish what you want. Speak it into existence, you know, and push yourself, because nothing can hold you back as long as you do good things, you know.
Man.
You believe in yourself, you'll get there. And it's sometimes people just stop right before their breakthrough.
Oh man,
They just stop. And just imagine if you would have stopped, you know, when your videos weren't getting that many views. Which, by the way, if you don't follow Vince on social media, do it. You'll laugh. You won't regret it. It's absolutely, anytime his videos come on, it's so funny. And I'm gonna admit right now, when I first saw your first El Muchacho video, I was like, man, Vince is being so corny. You know, like, I was like, he's absolutely corny. But then I keep seeing him and I find myself watching them, rewatching them, and I'm sitting here, you know, just looking at my phone, laughing, you know, and I'm like, that's what it is. That's what he was doing.
You know, and what's funny is I think about is, you know, same thing, right? Like, I kind of saw his first video and I'm like, oh, crazy Vince, right? Like, you know, that's just kind of how I know you, right? Like, oh, Vince is being crazy. Like, that's cool, whatever. Until I saw you, I think you made it on TV at the Seahawks game.
Oh yeah, that's another thing, man.
When I saw that, when I saw like, okay, this guy just made it on national TV at a Seahawks game, and I'm just like, it's working.
El Muchacho,
It's working, bro.
That was the coolest day of my life, man. I mean, I didn't realize because Esmer's like, babe, we're gonna go to a Seahawks game. I got really good seats, and I'm over here thinking, yeah, you got some alright seats, you know, like we're gonna be back in the boonies or something. She's like, no, I got some really good seats. Man, when we got there, I initially told myself, you know what, I'm going to El Muchacho. I'm gonna have a sign, you know, something, you know, I'm gonna get noticed somehow. I want to hand out cards to everyone, you know, and what better way to do it at a big, you know, sporting event like that? And when we get there, everybody's looking at me like, man, who's this curly-headed guy, man? You know, like, what's
Mets
going on?
With the Jerry curl.
Oh, man. So, mind you, that's a wig for the people that are hearing it. You know, it's a wig.
We got video, though.
But, yeah, no, so I get there. We're doing that. We go inside the stadium, and next thing I know, we're in the certain area where we're supposed to be sitting down. So we're going down the aisle. I'm like, babe, isn't it like up here? So she's like, no, we're still going down. And she surprised me. We were second row at the end zone.
That's awesome.
On the media side. So the crazy part is that I was right behind Mr. and Mrs. Seahawk. Captain Seahawk was on the side. I mean, the cameras are always on these guys. And I just looked at her and I just started crying and I gave her a big old hug. I was like, baby, I love you. Like, oh man, this is the greatest thing that could have ever happened to me.
Yeah.
The whole game I'm standing up, man, just going crazy, like, just all nuts, man. And I started getting a bunch of messages on my phone like, hey man, you came out on TV, blah blah blah. Yeah. I was like, you guys are joking, man. It was probably only I was on there for a couple seconds, man. Yeah. I was tripping out. I was like, oh, this is awesome.
Yeah, and I think honestly, you should go back.
Oh yeah.
Honestly, and try to get that same seat because that was pretty crazy. I'm like, but I mean, because Mr. and Mrs. Seahawk, you think about it, they're just some random people,
Yeah.
But they're Mr. and Mrs. Seahawk.
That's right.
I got big because they're crazy. They dress all crazy, and they have a following because of that.
Yep.
And it's like, man, how cool would that be? Vince just keeps showing up to a Seahawk game as that Muchacho. I mean, I know Seahawk games can get expensive, but still, like that's just more exposure for you, dude. And to me, that was like, man, who would have thought, right?
Yeah,
who would have thought?
That's awesome.
No,
and meeting those characters out there too. One of them was in sales, and when I talked to him, he was telling me what he was doing and stuff. That he's in, he does halftime realty and then something else. And I was telling him, I was like, man, I'm new to this. What's the secret? How do you become successful in sales? And he looked at me and he's like, look, man, I'm going to be 100% completely honest. He's like, if you go into this trying to make money, you're going to fail every time.
Yep.
If you go out there and you help people and you show people that you're there for them more than anything, you're going to make it bigger than you've ever imagined.
Yep. I actually just received a text message from a client of mine, and I've been working with this guy for it's been probably about a couple of years, right? I mean, I showed him houses probably 2-3 years ago, and we just got accepted on an offer, and he texted me. He's like, hey man, I'm glad that I was able to get you some money, right? And I'm like, bro, it's not about the money, that it's never been about that. It's like, you know what? I don't care if it's taken me 3 years to help you to finally buy a house. I helped you, and that's what I'm here, for. I'm here to help you. And we finally got to that finish line, right? And I'm like, dude, that has nothing to do with me getting paid.
It's a blessing, man.
I'd rather, even if it took you 10 years to buy a house, what? As long as I get that, satisfaction that I helped you all those 10 years, and you finally got to your goal, then hey, I'm good, man.
It's kind of like the Imagine Realty Group motto is we're not here to sell homes. We're here to build relationships.
That's right.
So and Abel, he's an example of it. I mean, most of our agents are, it's all about the relationship. And I'm sure in car sales, it's the same thing.
Oh, it's a big thing.
Because you're going to want the people to remember you, to remember those feelings they had when you were helping them. So then they're going to come back to you and say, hey, you helped me out this time. It felt really good. Let's do it again.
That's right. That's
every
right.
time. But
it was that same car salesman that kind of made me realize, because I would watch him. I'd watch him like, how does he make all these deals and how does this happen? He's been there for the time. Well, I realized that he would always sit people down and just sit there and literally for an hour just talk.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because you haven't said his name once, but I know exactly who you're talking about.
Yeah. I don't want to put his name out there, man. No, man. He's a cool dude, man. I have my differences with a lot of people in the sales game because everyone's different, man.
Yep.
We all have the same goal. We all want to make money and provide for our families and this and that. But I realize the platforms that I'm on, and
exactly.
if I've worked really, really hard, and I don't mind helping other people out and being there for them. But you know what? If I'm going to help you out, help me out too. We need to be a team.
Yeah.
And that's one of my biggest things is being around people who support me. And believe it or not, we see the Honda side. It's starting to get bigger and bigger and bigger, and people are starting to come out there way more often now. Yeah. And it's cool. Same thing with the Ford. We're trying to. I'm trying to reinvent the game a certain way, and everybody thinks that you're just here to rip me off or here to this and that. No, I'm not, man. If you have an issue, come see me. Let's figure this out. Yep. Let's call the right people. Let's do what we need to do in order to make sure that your A to B driver, or your destination from A to B, your the vehicles that's going to take you everywhere is 100%, because the worst feeling is giving something or selling something to somebody and then it just all tearing apart, you know?
Yeah.
That is the worst thing, because that builds, you know, bad juju for you, for one, and nobody wants to come back to somebody like that, you know?
I mean, even in real estate, you see, you know, there's clients that get, you know, I'm not going to me, it's like, hey, I'm going to send you to a lender, right? A lender's going to tell you what you can afford and can't afford. So, you know, sometimes they come back, I'm like, oh man, like I only qualified for this much, but I really like this house. And it's like, okay, you're not there yet, right? But this lender and even guys like Jeremy Lopez, you know, guys that help out people get, you know, build their credit and stuff, those guys are going to get you, hey, you want this house? All right, let me show you how you can get there, right?
Very,
so,
very
plan,
true.
let's
so
follow it.
you know, so it is like you said, patience, right? You got to have, even as a buyer, you got to have patience. You know what? Maybe if somebody wants that Ford, you know, Raptor, but hey, you know what, man? Right now you can only afford the XLT. What do you want to do?
That's right,
You
man.
know,
There's
And
levels, man.
There's levels, right? So you know, you work those people. Hey, if you really want this Raptor, let me show you what you need to do to get there, right? Hey, if you really want this house, let's work on that. You know, because I would hate to put somebody in a situation where, man, they go and they're like, you know what, screw it, I'm just gonna buy this house, and I'm gonna live on $50 a month, and like,
No, I get
bro,
that.
Not in
Don't-
this economy.
Yeah, bro,
there's
don't
people
do
that
like-
actually think like that,
Yeah,
man, and
you
you have
know?
to. That the greatest thing, man, is that this is why I say I help people, man, more than anything, is because you know what, the majority of my clients that come in and ask for help and ask for me, I make if they have horrible credit, which a lot of people do, it's normal, you know.
Yeah.
But it like I said, there's levels to this, man. Let me put you in something that you can afford, that you're comfortable in, so that way next time you do come to me, man, you know what? We're upgrading. We're upgrading.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing with real estate, you know? Like, I'm not expected to buy $1 million house my first buy, you know?
Yeah.
I know I can only afford $100,000 house or $180,000 house. So, like I said, it's baby steps, man.
Amen.
But when he is gonna buy that $1 million house, he's gonna call Nate.
Of course, man. Call you guys,
We're gonna
man.
get that hooked up.
Heck yeah, man.
Yeah, me and Nate will split that commission.
You guys are amazing, man.
We appreciate it, bro.
I see everything that you guys do, man, and you guys are building something for the community.
Yeah.
You know, this podcast is it's opening doors for everyone. You know, there are people out there, man. They don't realize how strong social media is, and one thing that I want to give it to is you guys have basically the same mentality that I have, that nothing can be stopped. You're the only ones holding yourselves back, and you try new things. If you don't try, then you never know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know, that's the thing. Like, I didn't know I'd be good at being a goofball on the internet, you know? Like, I didn't know that the following was going to come. I started realizing that being corny was cool, you know? Like,
and it absolutely works for you.
yeah, man, and
It
it
does.
it keeps going. Like, don't get me wrong, I see other influencers, and I notice that the majority of the women, they get a lot of following and everything because of what they're doing and this and that, and I get it.
Yeah.
I get it, but it's like, you know what? It might take me 5 years to get where I need to go, but I'm going to stay consistent with it. I'm going to keep growing, man. I'm only going to get better, and the sky's the limit, man.
Yep.
Yeah.
You don't know if you don't try.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, that's all the time we have for today. Again, through Vince, thank you for coming in. Sorry, I'm getting a little Mexican here. But we're from Muchacho, bro.
Muchacho's coming out
And
on you
Muchacho's
too, huh?
coming out of me, right?
Hell yeah.
No, we really appreciate you coming on, man, and it's been a pleasure having you on.
Yeah, bro.
Thank you guys so
100%,
much,
thanks.
man. This
All
means
right,
a
guys.
lot, man.
No, of course. So, yeah, that's it for today. We'll see you on our next episode, guys.
Later.
Thank you. Thank you for tuning in to the Imagine More podcast with Abel and Nate, the podcast that discusses everything real estate and everyday life. Remember to follow us on TikTok at EpicInvesting2 and Instagram at Imagine_Able_Nate. Be sure to tune in to our next episode. Until then, stay great.